Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast. This is episode 168. My name is Brad Rowland, and I'm joined on today's podcast by my friend Scott Coleman. Scott, it's Sunday afternoon. We are almost there. Opening day is upon us.
Hello, Brad. That's right. It is officially opening week. As folks are going to be listening to this, just 3 or 4 days away from opening day out in San Diego. And I don't know. I mean, some spring trainings feel like they just drag on forever and ever, but maybe it's because it's been a pretty busy and active spring for the Braves. But I thought the last 6 weeks went by pretty fast.
It did by spring training standards. The lull did kind of happen, but hey, the Braves kind of fought the lull by making some not massive news, but they kind of had a steady churn of news for us to talk about between guys coming back, Strider coming back, news there, and pitching stuff. It's guys that they signed kind of late in the process, Hector Neris, players like that. So yeah, it's been a little bit of something interesting to talk about most of the way. We should say at the top of the show, if people are new to us or just finding us today, we are part of the Foul Territory network of podcasts. Here at Hammer Territory, we cover the Braves all year round. That is our focus on this podcast. That's what we'll be doing today. And also, just as a PSA, in addition to please subscribe to the podcast, we're recording this at like 2:30 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. The Braves are still playing as we're recording this. I'll take the blame for it. I have to go cover a basketball game in person tonight. Scott's got his college basketball team playing tonight in the with a chance to go to Sweet 16. So this is our best window. Forgive us if there's news later tonight. We'll cover it on our next podcast. Just a little bit of a PSA there at the top of the show. And also, we should say it was busy last week. We did 4 shows in 1 week. Some news again. Craig Kimbrell back. Alex Verdugo joining the organization. All that kind of stuff. I mean, Scott, it's just been a constant, if not massive flow, but a dripping flow of content. And we have more today, by the way. More news. And at the end of the show, bold predictions. Is it that time of year? I guess it is.
It is that time of year. And it's pretty clear based on the last 10 days or so that the Braves and the front office are not totally in love with their 26-man roster and even the 40-man roster. And to be fair to Alex Anthopoulos, he even said maybe a month or two ago that he could see moves still happening throughout the month of March as spring training started. And lo and behold, they took a gamble on Craig Kimbrell. We talked about Craig quite a bit on one of the shows last week. And the Verdugo signing is one I still haven't quite wrapped my head around, but whatever. It's $1.5 million. What's $1.5 million between friends, right, Brad?
That is my take, by the way. I never offered my take on that because I wasn't on the show. That was my entire thing was like, I don't think it means that much. I think it's just a guy that's a major league quality player available for $1+ million, and they signed him. That's kind of what it was. For me, that's all it was. Like maybe he's better than Brian De La Cruz. That's kind of all I had.
It was interesting. You don't have to connect too many dots to find a path for some decent playing time for one of the now glut of outfielders. Say that, God forbid, Acuna's knee is sore. They have to shut him down for a bit. And Michael Harris pulls a tissue somewhere, a muscle somewhere for the second time, or now would be third time in 3 years. Depth is really important. And in the outfield, we saw an injury scare just a couple of weeks ago with Profar. It doesn't hurt. And again, for $1.5 million, I guess it makes sense for Verdugo. I'm guessing that one of Kelenic, De La Cruz, and Verdugo will probably not be thrilled with their playing time this upcoming year. But hey, it's a competition. And if you want to play, then hit the baseball and do a good job in the outfield. And I guess after all of the pickups the Braves had to make last year, it's maybe not the worst thing in the world.
Right. And if you're Verdugo, you probably didn't have a ton of options, or you wouldn't have signed with the Braves. Candidly, I don't think that, he has to know he's not guaranteed any playing time in Atlanta. So it was probably either the best combination of opportunity, maybe, and also just a good team. The Braves are supposed to be good. Maybe that's something he values, et cetera. But anyway, different podcast for a different day. We have to leave with this. This is actually, it's both funny and also on brand, right? On Saturday, the Braves signed Jesse Chavez to a minor league contract. I don't know about you, Scott. As soon as we saw that Chavez was cut by the Rangers, we all knew this was coming, or at least joked about it, and thought it was likely. Every year he seems to find his way back to Atlanta. Jesse is now 41. He'll be 42 in August. He pitched today, and in fact, he just came out of the game finally as we're recording this podcast on Sunday afternoon. But what was your reaction? Was it just like, all right, it's time, bring the old man back for a second?
Yeah, literally the moment that the Rangers released Jesse, like all of Twitter was like, give it 24 hours, give it 48 hours, and he will be back with the Atlanta Braves. Yeah, I mean, let's just jump right to it, Brad. Do I have confidence in the year 2025 in 41-year-old Jesse Chavez? No.
Yeah.
I understand why they bring him back. Maybe Jesse's willing to do it for the love of the game in Gwinnett and be available should they need. But even though the first half of last season was very prime Jesse Chavez with the Braves, where he would somehow just throw a scoreless inning or two every night, the second half was really rough, an ERA in the fives, and this stuff just obviously isn't great. The home run rate skyrocketed. Jesse also started walking a few too many hitters, which for a guy with his stuff is going to be basically impossible to survive if he's walking and giving up homers. So for the vibes, I get it. Maybe they'll give Jesse a couple chances to pitch this upcoming week. The bullpen is not exactly the greatest, deepest bullpen that we have seen in Atlanta over the years. So maybe he'll be the eighth guy. But as we spent the last month talking about, the Braves have some interesting decisions on their hands with the rotation and the bullpen. And unless, man, when Jesse Chavez comes into a major league game, I basically close my eyes, hold my breath, and hope it doesn't turn bad. And maybe that's not fair to him because he's been really good at times with the Braves, but my confidence level is low.
I think people like you and I who are a little bit more analytical in some respects are probably less excited about this than some other people are. Jesse, God, I don't want to speak for you. I have nothing but love for Jesse Chavez as a guy. Like everyone loves Chavez. He has been good at times. It's defied the underlying stuff the entire time. Every time he's good in Atlanta, he's outperforming. When he's bad somewhere else, he's just bad. And look, maybe it'll continue. Maybe the Braves just haven't figured out with Chavez, and he'll come in and he'll make the team or whatever and throw 50 innings and have a 3 ERA. Like maybe that happens. I don't think that I would project that to happen. You already gave the number about the second half of last year. I will say on the bright side, his peripherals were not actually any different first half, second half. It's just that his ERA regressed to where it was supposed to be in the first half, to be honest. So there's that. And look, Brian Snitker gave a pretty lengthy, by spring training standards, press conference. People want to go find the quotes by people like Toscano and Bowman who share all this stuff on Sunday morning. The Braves leave town today. They go from Florida to Arizona after the game today. So Brian talked probably more than he would have normally. And he was pretty candid about how there's a lot of uncertainty on the roster, particularly on the pitching side. Chavez is part of that. He pitches today. Is there chances on the team in 4 days? Like maybe. He was pitching in the spring, like unlike a guy like Verdugo or somebody else, like Kimbrel, who wasn't pitching somewhere. Jesse was in camp with Texas, so he's probably in theory in shape to pitch. Yeah. He's not like still, ramping up in the spring like some other guys would be. So maybe they carry him out of spring. But also, it is a minor league deal. He's guaranteed basically nothing. It's a shot at him if he wants to pitch, like you said. Maybe he's in Gwinnett some. Maybe he's on the team or whatever, but I'm not like excited about this as far as like bolstering the bullpen. It's just another arm and another bit of uncertainty, which I was actually kind of glad Snitker was as candid as he was about how, hey, most times at this point, they're kind of roster set, and they are not roster set right now with the pitching stuff. We saw that even a week ago. You and I talked like a week ago. We were like, all right, here's probably the projected bullpen. And then in like 3 days, it all changed. Perdomo gone, all these things changed. So Chavez is just another guy in the mix now alongside Hector Neris and whoever else.
It pretty much comes down to what is the Braves' priority for this first road trip of the year against two very good teams in San Diego and Los Angeles. Do they want to carry 6 starting pitchers, as they did for a decent chunk of last year? Do they want a rubber arm in Chavez in the back of the bullpen? Because say that they're winning or losing a game 9-1, they're probably not going to want to burn their regulars to cover the last 3 innings. And we'll see. I mean, there's the Ian Anderson discussion, which we've had a million times. We will finally get some clarity in the next week on will he or won't he, and what will the role be. AJ Smith-Shawver, he has options, but he's arguably been a top. I mean, I don't think even arguably he has been a top 5 pitcher for this team. Do they want to have AJ go out and start against the Dodgers and see if he can overwhelm their hitters with his stuff? I don't know. Do they want to send Ian Anderson to the Wolves in LA and see what happens? I don't know. That would be a tough one. Or do they want Jesse in the back of the bullpen to be that veteran that everybody loves, and he can do pretty much whatever you ask of him as long as it's not high leverage? So really interesting to see how the next couple of days play out. And it is, again, of course, worth noting, we all focus on the opening day roster, but give it 10 days from now, and the roster
Yeah.
will probably look significantly different than it did on opening day.
Right. This is a situation where it is going to change some when you factor in
yeah.
Strider's coming back pretty soon. Like it's more flexible than a lot of teams would be, even on opening day. Like, and we already said this once before, but they could even recall someone like Buck Farmer to be the long man. Like, I know they assigned him to the minor league camp, but if you ask me who I would want to pitch 3 innings on Thursday between Buck Farmer and Jesse Chavez, I would choose Buck Farmer. So like that might just be my call, but there's a lot of names, a lot of arms. I mean, you mentioned Ian. Again, one more timestamp here. We're recording this during the game on Sunday. Ian is pitching right now. Again. So maybe they announced something on Ian Anderson today. Maybe he doesn't travel to Arizona. Like they're flying to Arizona today. So it's uncertainty. And even then, like, they're stopping in Arizona on the way to San Diego. But hey, Scott, this is 2025. The luxury of air travel. They could just bring someone who's not even with them by the time that they're starting things up on Thursday. So even then, I don't know. A lot of uncertainty. I wish we had more answers. We will have a podcast between now and opening day at some point, which hopefully we'll have final answers on the roster by then, some more projections from our colleagues perhaps, but we are doing a little bit of our bold predictions, you and I, at the end of this pod. But there is one more coming, everybody. So if there's more news in between now and Thursday, we'll be able to cover.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff on the horizon. If you're a newer listener, pretty much we preview games. We'll do game recaps after some of the games. I can tell you for sure we're going to have a podcast after opening day on Thursday. We'll do a series preview probably Tuesday night, unless that gets blown out by news of some kind. And then we'll do our usual Sunday spot, usually in the Sunday night after the game wraps up. But yes, lots of stuff. It's you're right. What Brian Snitker said earlier is different than what's usually the tone with the Braves this time of year. Usually the Braves, it's just academic and they have their 26-man roster basically set. But clearly the pitching staff, there's 1, 2, maybe even 3 spots that are legitimately up for grabs right now. And that at least makes for some interesting talking points over the next couple of days.
All right, let us shift gears a little bit, talk about 2 starting pitchers who are not up for debate on what their spots are going to look like eventually, but some interesting newsy-ish stuff from the last couple of days. So today, on Sunday, Strider pitched for the second time. He looked good. He wasn't as dominant as the first time around because he couldn't possibly have been. His first start was perfect, basically. He did face Baltimore's basically everyday lineup on Sunday. 3 strikeouts pretty quickly, looked like himself, I will say. I was not watching, so I will give you the play-by-play on what happened in his when he allowed the home run, because it seemed for all the world as if he got really badly squeezed, and that kind of led to a home run. But what were your takeaways on Strider's second outing in which he threw an inning and a third on Sunday?
Yeah, I thought Spencer looked pretty good. 2 1/3 innings, struck out 3 of the first 4 hitters he faced, actually 4 of the first 5. The only hit he gave up in the first was a bloop opposite field single to Adley Rutschman. And I thought most encouraging is that of the strikeouts, 1 of them was on a curveball, 1 of them was on a slider, and 2 of them actually were on a changeup. In the second inning, Spencer, the whole ballpark thought he had strike 3 to Ramon Urias, and the umpire missed it. And then he hung a slider that basically everyone is going to hit, and Urias hit it for a 2-run homer. Strider was frustrated after that, and he actually exited the game in the second inning, I'm guessing for pitch count reasons. The good news is that Strider went back out for the third. They pulled him exactly at 45 pitches. It was actually a 3-2 count, and Brian Snitker popped out of the dugout and said, "That's all, Spencer. Hit the showers," which makes sense. Strider threw about 30 pitches earlier this week. He threw 45 today. I'm guessing he'll make one more spring type of tune-up down in camp later this week, and then he will likely begin an assignment with Gwinnett. So it was clear that he was facing a much more difficult everyday lineup for Baltimore compared to the poor minor leaguers of Boston that he tore up earlier in the week. But velocity looked pretty good, a lot of swing and miss, 1 mistake pitch on a slider, but frankly, I'm sure Spencer does not care in the least. And it was encouraging to see him out there. And it seems like mid-April is on the table for him to come back.
Yeah, nothing that was out there today from what I have read, seen, heard was discouraging about his timetable. Was fine, not worried about that at all. He wasn't going to probably strike out every batter he faced the entire time he was ramping up. not a big deal. So
He
that's
wants
the update there. Go ahead.
he really does try, man. I mean, Strider, he is such a competitor. He wants to strike out every single hitter. There is no try to get some soft contact on a 1-0 pitch. It is I'm going to strike you out, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Sounds good to me if I'm someone rooting for Spencer Strider. We should at least note this. I don't want to talk about him necessarily, but the Braves did fish Charlie Morton today. Just a little bit of a nugget there on a Sunday afternoon. They beat him up pretty good. Charlie's actually been pretty good in the spring from what I've seen. Not following it closely, despite my personal affection for Charlie. But it was an interesting bit of synergy to have Morton versus Strider on a Sunday in March.
It felt a little weird to see Charlie in the orange uniform, and I think he's going to be a great addition for a very young Orioles team, a team that has a lot of talent, but has, I think, gotten knocked out in the first round of both of the last two playoffs. So Charlie and that veteran wisdom that he brings, even if he is not a frontline starter anymore, nice addition for Baltimore. And it was good to see Charlie. I'm sure he got a lot of handshakes and hugs before the game.
Absolutely. The rest of the news before we dive into our bold predictions. Ronaldo Lopez pitched Saturday against Detroit's regulars in a 0-0 game that was void of any action whatsoever on a Saturday. The results were pretty good. People that I trust, including I don't think he's blowing anybody away this spring, is what I would say. Velocity is not 100% where you want it to be at this point in time. Although I will say, Stint's been pretty honest this spring, and he was actually very, very glowing about Ronaldo, for whatever that's worth. It might just be gassing up your player, but he didn't seem to be worried at all about what they've seen from Ronaldo. But the big thing is, he is not missing bats. His strikeout rate's very low in the spring. I had somebody, I can't remember who it was now, so my apologies. Somebody said this, would you throw 100% max velocity effort in spring training in your last start in March? I was like, actually, probably a good idea to point that out, that he probably was not throwing his 100% max effort. But are you worried at all about Ronaldo? Because look, I mean, obviously he's in the rotation. We all understand that now, and he's not just been dominating, but also has been generally fine results-wise.
Yep. Velocity being down in the spring is not uncommon. I think what I'm obviously going to be looking for is what does the velocity look like when Ronaldo takes the mound in San Diego for game 2 of the season. And if folks missed it, Chris Sale, opening day starter. Ronaldo is lined up for game 2. Spencer Schwellenbach is lined up for game 3. And very likely Grant Holmes for game 4. So sure, if Ronaldo goes out there in San Diego and he's throwing 92, 93 fastballs, I might be a little concerned, especially after he had such a heavy workload last year. But I mean, guys don't go 100% all out in the spring. As we talked about on the podcast over the last month, I'm sure there are things that Ronaldo is working on with his breaking balls, his fastball, his mechanics, all of those good things. But no, I mean, if there were people around the team sounding the alarm a little bit, then I think we'd probably be a bit more nervous. But get back to me in 2 or 3 weeks and we'll see what he looks like.
Yeah, that's where I am too. It's okay. We'll see how it looks this weekend. If he doesn't look great in San Diego, then we'll talk about it on the podcast and we'll reassess things a little bit. But in the meantime, that is where I am as well. And by the way, I think you might have mentioned this, but if you didn't, it's Michael King opening day for the Padres. So we'll see him on Thursday against Chris Sale. Last bit of news, Sean Murphy update dropped over the weekend. He, of course, suffered the cracked rib about 3.5 weeks ago now, essentially, at the end of February. He was cleared to resume some baseball activity earlier this week. Still doing dry swings offensively, so he's not right there yet, but getting closer and closer. Our pal Mark Bowman basically said that if all goes well, could be back in 2.5, 3 weeks, something like that. We all know it's going to be Baldwin opening day, as it should be, basically, at least in my opinion. You can speak for yourself on that. But I mean, if Murphy's back in 3 weeks, great scenario. I can already hear half of Braves country groaning as they don't want him to. They don't want him to play. But obviously, speak for me. It's obviously good when he comes back, and hopefully pretty soon, and maybe 3 weeks, which is not, you wouldn't miss much time. If you only miss 2.5-3 weeks, you're missing 15 games, if that. Yeah. It's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, we talked all off season about how important this year is for Sean Murphy. Yep. Taking a 95 fastball to the ribs and cracking a rib is just really unfortunate timing. And hopefully it's not something that's going to linger. The Braves are in a good spot where they do have their very top prospect is also a catcher. So there's going to be no need to rush Murphy back. Let him get a ton of swings. Let him play for a week in Gwinnett if you need to. Let him face live pitching. Make sure everything is good to go. And the Braves need Sean Murphy. Whether you are an ardent defender of Sean's or the biggest hater of Sean's, it is inarguable that the Braves are a much better team when Sean Murphy is doing what Sean Murphy can do. And let's hope he bounces back. He hits. Defensively, he was still awesome last season. I think that gets overlooked sometimes, just how reliable he is back there. He's good throwing at runners, very few passed balls, calls a good game from my untrained eye. And the pitchers seem to like working with him. So if Murph can even give average or slightly above average offensive production, it's going to mean a lot to this lineup in the bottom third. And hopefully that cracked rib isn't something that's going to linger. And then the Braves have a decision to make whenever Murph does come back with Baldwin, whether he's going to be a backup in Atlanta or if he's going to go play in Gwinnett every day. I think I lean towards the former, and I think that'd probably be my preference. So Baldwin keeps playing regularly, but we will see. Probably a podcast in 3 or 4 weeks, Brad.
Almost certainly will be a discussion point that we have on this podcast then. But yeah, that's the decision. And I think the way you put it is perfect. I don't want to repeat it necessarily, but I think just to emphasize it a little bit, even if you are really out on Sean Murphy, which I would not be, but even if you are, and I know the Braves fans, some of them are, or you are absolutely in love with Drake Baldwin, and you think he's the second coming of, Johnny Bench right now. The Braves are still better if Murphy is playing, because at the very least, he is better than Chadwick Trump. At the very least, if that's the way you want to look at it, I wouldn't look at it that way. But if you are the biggest pessimist in the world on Sean Murphy, he is much, much better than Chadwick Trump. So get back soon, Sean, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, about 2.5 weeks, hopefully 3 weeks, according to Bowman, and we'll be talking about him and that decision with Baldwin when that arrives. All right, Scott, are you ready for bold predictions?
Yeah, baby. It's going to be fun. Yeah, bold predictions is the time of year. I hope 2 out of my 3 are right. Not to spoil it, I have 2 positives and 1 negative. I hope all 3. Well, we'll see. I don't want to tease it too much, but yeah, this should be a fun little segment.
It should be. We do this every year to some degree. Some of these are bold. Some of these are just our regular predictions, like win totals, like that stuff we'll get to here. Because we have Scott and I together. It's a tradition. We have to do this at some point, and we're doing it now. I guess we reserve the right to change things if they make some massive move in the next 2 days, but this is our pretty official on-the-record predictions across the board, and this is actually your idea to remind me to do this. Do you want to do your hot take big grand slam swings first? Let's just go ahead and do that now. It's more fun that way. And you go first. This is your idea. Fire away, Scott. Give me at least one of your blazing preseason hot takes.
All right, so this is going to be my hottest take of the segment, and man, all right, I'm going to say that Spencer Schwallenbach, who had just a meteoric rise last season, is going to finish top 3 in Cy Young voting in the National League. If you've been listening to the podcast for the last couple of months, maybe that's not like a super, oh my God take, because we've talked about Schwallenbach and just how good this kid was. In ERA and FIP and XFIP and expected ERA, about 3, like 3 on the dot in the second half of last year. So good. He looks so good this spring. The velocity is up a little bit. He doesn't walk anybody. He doesn't give up hard contact. I will say maybe the one thing that's working against Schwallenbach winning the Cy Young is he is not necessarily a super household name yet compared to a Paul Skeens or even his own teammate in Chris Sale or Zach Wheeler or any of the awesome pitchers in the National League. And to be clear, he has an uphill climb to win the award. But Schwallenbach was awesome. The last couple of years, a Braves pitcher has led the National League in wins, and that feels certainly possible for Schwallenbach. And yeah, so give me top 3 odds. If you are a betting person, I did throw a couple bucks on Spencer at plus 3,500 to win the Cy Young. Maybe not too much money because I'm still not convinced he's necessarily a household name. But hopefully Schwallenbach not only has a great year, but then goes deep and the Braves go deep into the postseason and he can make some primetime all of America watching starts. And that's really how you kind of build up your profile.
Yeah, I think that's all reasonable. And on the practical side of not being a household name, that is true. But you know this as well as I do. A lot of times in the modern voting age of Cy Young or MVP, it's like if you have the best numbers, you're probably going to win.
Yeah.
Like it's a tiebreaker sometimes. Like, maybe you default to the bigger name if it's close. But if he has the best season, he probably will win the award. Like Chris Sale is obviously a bigger name than Spencer Schwallenbach, but like he had the best numbers last year, and that's why he won the award. Like that's was not it's not quite as popularity contesty as some of these awards are. Like Rookie of the Year almost is more like that. Almost, you and I talked about this a lot in October and November. I thought Schwally got disrespected in Rookie of the Year voting last
Yeah.
year. I thought he was quite a bit too far down the list. But anyway, it's a reasonable one for you. I like that one. Very, very, I'd say optimistic, but also reasonable at the same time. You have two more? Is that what you said? You have three? Okay, so I'll come up with two. I think I only have two. So you go 1, 3, and 5, and I'll go 2 and 4 here. I'm going to leave you one of mine that I was going to give you because you called it first in our document. So I will not use it on this platform and save it for you. So I will do this. I will say Austin Riley wins his third Silver Slugger Award at third base and finishes top 5 in MVP voting in the National League. Now, that isn't that hot because people tend to forget this. Riley has finished in the top 7 3 times of MVP. And I wonder if you ask people if they knew that, they wouldn't. He has. Last year, though, he had for him, not a good season. He got banged up and he wasn't great even when he was playing. He was still fine, to be fair. But I think a full-on, full-blown bounce back for Austin Riley, maybe even the best year of his career. In fact, you know what? I'll say that now. Best year of his career to date for Austin Riley. That means career high, probably, his career high in OPS is 898. I will take over 900 on Austin Riley this year, OPS wise. Home runs, something in his normal average, that 35-ish kind of realm for Austin, and Silver Slugger, which is won twice. Yeah, again, not shooting for the moon here. I could have said MVP. I think, to your point about Schwellenbach, I think Riley is a pretty sneaky MVP bet at like 50-1, wherever he is. He's something in that range.
Yep.
The Braves have more than one of those. Not to spoil them all, but I think Olsen could still win it if he has another big season. I think Riley could win it. I think a guy that we'll talk about probably later, Michael Harris, could win it if he has a great season, et cetera. It's like the Braves actually have some sneaky MVP candidates.
Yeah.
And Ronnie will just probably come back too late to have a chance to do it again, but he might play at that level. So not huge things there, but I wanted to give some love to Riley, who was just, we all kind of assume he's going to be good again. Like, he just always rock solid and good. But I think, I'll just say this: best year of his career to date, which is not a small bar to clear if you're Austin Riley.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And it's worth saying that, the first half last year for Riley was not the greatest in the world. Once he distanced himself from that oblique injury where the Braves refused to put him on the injured list, and he missed time, and then he tried to play through some things. But really, once Riley was himself, he was as good as he has ever been at parts in the second half. Hit the
part of why I'm doing this. You kind of saw a little bit of that, and when you said the whole thing about not putting him on the IL, my mind just goes to Freddie Freeman swinging a wet tissue paper. Remember that whole saga when Freddie couldn't move his wrist and he kept playing every day. Anyway, this is the mind of me.
The 2019 playoffs did not happen. That is that is absolutely the most frustrating postseason loss the Braves have had in this run. We will not talk about it again on the show. No. It's our promise to you.
We'll move on.
Yeah.
We'll move on for now. But I all in on Austin Riley this season, which is, for people that don't know our work for years, I was always low on Austin Riley. I've come around in full. I'm fully bought in now. He's a full-fledged star, but it wasn't like I've always been the pom-poms for Austin Riley guy. I was wrong about him, full stop. And he is very, very, very good, and I think he'll remind everybody of that this year after a bit of a down season a year ago. Okay, Scott, number 2 on your list is what?
So my one negative, we'll work in the middle here.
That's
again,
good.
If you have listened to the pod for a while, this is not going to be a giant shock. But I will say that Orlando Arcia loses his job at some point this summer. He really, really, really has struggled since the All-Star break in 2023. There's very little in his underlying numbers and profile to suggest that a turnaround is going to happen. He was just so unbelievably bad last year. And not that we're going to evaluate spring training stats too much, but Orlando's really struggled this spring too. I think he actually got a hit today to finally get his spring average above 100.
His OPS right now in the spring is not average. OPS is 368 in the spring. That's not good.
And to be clear, his defense is very good. There's a reason the Braves are going to roll with him, at least to begin the year. But if you had to ask me, I'm guessing the Braves will upgrade the position at the middle of the year, probably at the trade deadline. I know that Nick Allen has had a good spring, but historically he just hasn't done much offensively. If folks missed it, Nick Allen was acquired from the Oakland A's very early in the offseason, plays a fantastic defense, which is something the Braves value, talking about Allen. And if he's hitting a little bit, maybe the door opens up for him to play some. I don't know necessarily if the Braves are going to need to play Arcia for 162 games. And then at the trade deadline, there's always team selling. So that's my, I guess, negative prediction, bold take. Probably not even that bold, Brad.
It's really not, and I agree with it. But hey, it's worth saying out loud. And look, we're not in the business of trying to call out bad things like on purpose to happen.
Sure.
I think I want to speak for you. I think you'd be perfectly happy if Orlando Arcia had a 700 OPS this year and was just fine hitting ninth playing defense. That'd be great.
If Orlando bats, if he's batting ninth and has a 700 OPS, I won't say a bad word all summer long.
Right.
You have my
guarantee. That's just fine. that's just fine. The difference is last year was not 700. He was well below that, and it was last year he was below the threshold. So we said that a lot this winter, but that's the short version. It was like the threshold for his offense is not very high. It just has to be okay. Last year it was not okay, and that's the difference. If it's below that, if it's where it was last year, he should lose his job, and I think he will. I think at some point, if he's doing what he did last year, something in that range into June, July, they're going to have to do something else. Whether it's Nacho Alvarez, whether it's Nick Allen, or whether it's a trade, I would endorse that prediction, even if it's not the most fun one in the world. Okay. Do I have another one that I want to give you? Yes, I do. I think I have one for you. I should know this. I don't think he's going to be eligible. Never mind. I'm doing this on the fly. Grant Holmes is my second one. I think Grant Holmes makes 28 starts or more.
Wow.
For the Braves. Now, I say that would mean he has to be good, which is why I'm saying that. I'm framing it, and that's like my firm number because it's hard to be like, okay, Grant Holmes is a 3.57 ERA. It's hard to do that without making too. But I think him making 28 starts means he's in the rotation all year long. That is the bold prediction. I'm not sure how bold it is. He's going to open the season in the rotation, but I think people have thought, including us, frankly, including me. I'll raise my hand. I have thought multiple times this winter, like, hey, wouldn't it be easier if they just put Grant Holmes back in the bullpen? And I still think that some days, honestly. But that isn't because of Grant Holmes. It's because of everybody else around Grant Holmes. I think Grant Holmes is a major league number 4 level starting pitcher. And I think he will perform that way this year. He'll have an ERA around 4 probably, which isn't going to light the world on fire, but will be good enough to stick in the rotation all year long. Is that bold enough? I don't know. Is that good?
Yeah, I mean, I like the take. And, 28 starts means he basically won't leave the rotation.
He's there all year.
For reference, I just looked. Ronaldo Lopez made 25 starts last season.
They were very careful with him. I think it'd be more like on the path of Sale last year. Not as good as Sale, to be fair. But Sale threw 29 outings last year without really getting hurt at all. It's just that they were skipping him sometimes. It was a 6-man rotation sometimes. They were careful with him. And Holmes, was not built up last year. So maybe 28 is too high. Whatever the base, maybe it's 26.
A full season.
A full season. He'll be in the rotation unless he gets hurt, basically, for me. And I think he will not get hurt. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll find out as soon as Strider comes back that they are like, you know what? We got Strider and we're going to go with Smith Shawver. And hey, Grant, we'll shake hands and you'll go to the bullpen. If we need you to come back, we'll come back. That's very possible. What I'm basically saying is I think that Holmes is better than Smith Shawver today. Not in 2 years, but for this season, that's kind of the other way that you could frame this. And I'm less excited about that take, which is why I didn't give it that way. But I think that maybe they fooled me, Scott, with their messaging this winter. But they've been very, very, very consistent. Grant Holmes is a starter for them. He's been in every discussion, every projection by all the beat guys. He is a starter on this team. And it seems to me, like it does to you, I know it's been reported this in the last week, he's the 4th guy. He's not the 5th guy. He's the 4th guy. He's pitching against San Diego almost certainly. So it's like that to me means something. And yeah, Strider might mess it up in a good way by coming back and being awesome. But yeah, that's my take. I'm a big Grant Holmes guy. I'm in.
Yeah, I am too. And I can already see, because we are pretty certain the Braves are going to run something of a 6-man rotation this season, just as they did last year, even if it was really ugly at times. And we had to watch Darius Vines and Alan Winans and Hurston Waldrop get obliterated. mean, that was kind of ugly at times last year, but I think the top 6 in the organization right now are significantly better than what it was a year ago. And I can see if you wanted to give me a crystal ball and say, all right, Scott, for your life savings, what does Grant Holmes do this season? I would say that he is the de facto 6th starter, if you will. I think he's going to start most weeks, especially in those stretches where the Braves do not have a day off. But there might also be a stretch where the bullpen could use a little help, and maybe the Braves have 2 off days in a week or 3 off days in 2 weeks, and the rotation can rest up and get the extra day of rest that they like to do. And then even if Holmes isn't officially going back to the bullpen, he'll make 2 appearances out of the bullpen to give those other guys a breather and go 2 innings, basically the equivalent of what his side session would be if he was a regular starter. And then whenever you have a stretch of 14 games in 14 days, or you run into some bad weather and have to handle some double headers, then Holmes, who's already built up, will start. And maybe he's not your traditional Greg Maddux throw 7 innings and 105 pitches every time, but I could see Holmes being really good for 5 or 6 innings in most of his starts and being just a really valuable, versatile arm for this rotation and bullpen whenever the Braves need him.
I meant to give this stat when I gave this prediction, but Grant Holmes last season, he only made 7 starts. He was in the bullpen most of the year. His 7 starts is pretty much exactly what I would think he's going to be this year. 4.01 ERA, like a 1.24 FIP, 4.5 strikeouts per walk, like just really solid. Not incredible, but really solid, and they like him a lot. And he's 29. I think people think that he's older than he is because he's got the hair thing going and all. He's not old. Like he was a prospect at one point. Like he's a real talented arm, and I think because I'm guilty of this too. I think because of all the other uncertainty around the rest of the rotation, Ian Anderson, Smith Shawver, like we haven't talked about Holmes that much because it's like we kind of know what he is to some degree, which is, by the way, a credit to Grant Holmes. Yeah. Grant Holmes is good, and I buy it. So not the most like mainstream bold prediction, but we got there. All right, Scott, give me your third and final, and then we'll move on to less hot takey things and do our usual predictions. But by the way, just to preface, I'm on board with this one. He stole this from me.
This is a joint bull take from Scott and Brad. And this one also, it's not like a shocking one, but no. Brad and I are going to predict that Michael Harris has a 25-25 season. So 25 homers, 25 stolen bases, and is north of 6 WAR this upcoming year. We love Michael Harris. He's so talented. Things on a baseball field just look easy to Michael. And last season, he had that dreaded hamstring pull where he missed 2 full months. So that held him back, trying to get his timing back. But, I mean, not only was Harris good last season, but he was also one of the larger underperformers based on his batted ball data. Of all hitters in the league, he was 25 points lower than what his expected WOBA was. And that's a fancy stat. It's a better version of OPS, but a big-time underperformer. We have seen Michael Harris when he is right. He's hitting for power. He's electric on the base paths. The one thing that I'm really, really, really hoping that Michael can do this season is just up the walk rate a little bit.
Take a walk every once in a while would be nice.
I don't need you to be Kyle Schwarber and walk in 12% or Chipper Jones and run a 400 on base. Though, frankly, if Michael Harris is running a 400 OPS or on base, he's probably going to be like an MVP winner. But I would love Michael to be a little more patient, draw a few more walks, put the ball in play a little bit more. But I do think a 25-25 season and a 6 WAR campaign is on the horizon, and he will be just so dynamic in the middle of the lineup, batting 5th or 6th, where I think he really thrives.
Yeah, I let it leak a little bit earlier when I was talking about Riley, but I do think that Harris is a player whose upside is undervalued. I think everybody understands how good he already is, and he is. But I think if Michael put it all together, and that's an if, not a win, but an if, he could be an MVP level player. Now, I'm not saying he's going to ever do it, but when you put what you have to have, WAR wise, basically, wins above replacement wise, to win the MVP is a big number. And you have, in order to do that, like for instance, it's really hard for Matt Olson to get to the number you have to get to. He's got to hit 55 home runs probably, which he could probably do, but like that's only one path for him to do that. You know what I mean? Riley is a better defender and more valuable defender than Olsen is, but he's still a third baseman. Like there's mixes on his defense. He's pretty good, but he's not Brooks Robinson over there, right? Harris can get you a lot of boosts with his defense. Yeah. And if he has like his best season, is healthy, hits 30 home runs, and to your point, takes a walk every once in a while, he could have an 8-win season. That's in the realm of possibility for Michael Harris. I'm not saying he's going to do that, but if you can do that, if maybe you get lucky and Ohtani is not an absolute A+ version of himself, and you might have a chance to win MVP in that season. It's all about luck too. Like Matt Olson had an MVP season a few years ago, and he finished 4th because there were 3 aliens ahead of him. That happens too. But I think Harris, honestly, your take is like you said, it's a joint take. I would I'm not in a legal betting state like you, Scott, but if I was in a legal betting state, I would also have a couple of shekels on Michael Harris. I think Riley and Harris as long shots, and they are long shots for a reason. They're not Ohtani, they're not Freddie, they're not even Prime Acuna, obviously. But if you want to have some fun with $4 in March, I wouldn't mind. I think he's like 80-1. Like it's a lot. I mean, for a reason, I get it, but he has upside like that, and I think it's going to be a Michael Harris announces himself as a star in every possible way kind of season. That's he's my guy. I mean, even beyond, of course, different realm than Grant Holmes, but like Riley's already there. I would hope people understand Austin Riley is already a star. Maybe you don't, but he has been a star for 5 years almost, 4.5 years now.
Yeah.
Michael Harris had started out that way, rookie of the year, all those things. But I think he like maybe kind of fall off the radar a little bit last couple of years. No longer after the season, everyone's like, who's a star? Michael Harris.
Yeah, like cemented as one of the 3 best center fielders in the game, wins a Gold Glove, wins a Fielding Bible Award for center field, all of those things. He's very charismatic. He's active on social media. And I mean, I think you and I had the conversation at the summer at one point. Michael Harris is almost a victim of all the stars around him from a national level. If he was on the, I don't know, pick a team in a decent sized market, but like if he was on the San Francisco Giants in a mega market in the Bay Area, I think his profile would be even larger. If he was with the Cubs, I think he would be even more widely known. Not that Atlanta is some small little town, but what I'm saying is the Cubs do not have nearly the star power that the Braves do. And because
he's one of the guys.
Right. He plays next to Acuna and he has Riley and Olsen ahead of him. And it's a great non-problem for the Braves. And hopefully Michael Harris, one, stays healthy because he has missed time the last 2 years with the back issue and then the hamstring. But hopefully he stays healthy and gives us the season that everybody thinks he can give us.
If he simply did what he did as a rookie over 162 instead of 114, he would be, a 7-win player.
Yeah.
Like he was that good. He was a 5-win player as a rookie in 114 games.
Man,
like that's not a small thing. Like he's already shown it to some degree. But you're right, 100%. You're right. If he was like the franchise player on a, not a great team but a decent team, he'd get more attention than he gets in Atlanta. By the way, also sneaky thing here, incredible nickname. Money Mike is a great nickname. Great nickname. Writes itself. Anyway, we're all in on Michael Harris.
He's always trolling Phillies and Mets fans on Twitter, which bonus. He gets my MVP vote just for that alone.
He's a local product, Stockbridge. He's got everything you want is Michael Harris. Okay, let's do a quick pivot away from the Braves just for a second. This will be shorter, I promise you. But we each have one base MLB hot take about a team. You want to go first on this?
Sure, and we'll keep this short.
Yeah, this will be short.
I think the Yankees are going to miss the playoffs entirely. Just
after making the World Series last year, folks. Just keep that in mind.
And even though the Yankees have not won at all, they've basically been in the mix every year for a decade now or something like that. So it's a little hot. I think even with all of the pitching injuries the Yankees have, they still have pretty good odds in Vegas. I think they're still the projected for the most wins in the American League on Fangraphs. If not,
and in the betting market, they are number one in the betting market as well. Yeah. And now, not to derail us too much, the American League is one jumbled mess right now. I believe as of right now, the top 4 teams in the Vegas projections are in the National League. So that tells you a little bit about this. But hey, you're right. But they are number one in the American League in both the betting odds and some of the projection systems.
Yeah. So I'll say the Yankees, which I'm sure this is just going to crush the hearts of all of our listeners. But the Yankees missed the postseason. They have no pitching, or at least they're going to really rely on Max Fried this year. I don't think the lineup is that good. They're already without Giancarlo Stanton for an indefinite amount of time. They lost
Soto's
that.
not there anymore, folks.
Yeah, they
Soto
lost
is
that
not walking through
Juan
the door.
Soto kid who can hit pretty good. And I mean, Aaron Judge, as good as he is hardly Iron Man. He's susceptible to an injury as much as anyone. If something happens to Judge, I mean, that lineup is almost like flat out bad. I mean, as crazy as that is to say, not bad,
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying. It's not nearly good enough.
Yeah, we agree. I have a similar offering in the genre. I am going to say the Astros missed the playoffs for the first time since 2016. They've been in the playoffs every year since 2016, and that is not happening this year. Now, part of that is that the AL West is better, and part of that is that the Astros are not as good as they've been. Now, I will say they were sub 500 in 2020 in the shortened season and still made the playoffs. So there's a little bit of a technicality there, but their worst season since the long rebuild they went through, etc. Yeah, I'm just gonna say they're not terrible, but similar to what the Yankees, like they've lost some guys. They're not star-studded anymore the same way they were. Altuve is not the same guy he used to be. They got Yordan, and they traded Kyle Tucker, who was probably their best player by the time they traded him. So yeah, I'm betting against the Astros. You're betting against the Yankees. I'd be surprised if we're both right, but we could be both right. It's conceivable. So if you want to take that to the bank.
It feels like the American League is going to have 7 or 8 or 9 teams that are all in like that 81 to 90 win window.
Yep, I agree.
I'm sure one of them will establish like if
somebody has to win 95 probably.
Right. If everything goes right for the Red Sox, they could be awesome. If everything goes right for the Rangers, they could be awesome. If the Orioles continue to score a million runs and just get a little bit of pitching, Orioles are going to be awesome. And you can make that case for a handful of teams. The American League Central is weird because like everyone other than the White Sox is pretty good, but they also aren't great. So yeah, the American League is fascinating, whereas the National League has 6 or 7 teams at the top that are just awesome. And it's pretty clear, I think, that the postseason picture, maybe other than the NL Central, could get weird, but you look at the East and the West, and those 2 divisions are just loaded. It's going to make for a probably fun and stressful summer.
Yes, it is. And we like baseball on this podcast. We would not do a lot of non-Braves coverage, but I at least want to throw in a little bit of a non-Braves thing there. And then we'll go back to the Braves now, and we'll sign it off at the end of this. Scott, it's time for National League East predictions, and we have to get on the record about the Braves and a win total at some point. I will let you take the honors of going first. I think we're probably going to have the Marlins last in the National League East. But what else do you want to – go ahead and give me your order on the National League East, and then also a win total for your Atlanta Braves in 2025.
The poor Miami Marlins might lose 110 baseball games.
Their projection right now, that's derail the podcast, is 62.5 at the betting market. So that's 100. That's 100 losses projected.
Under. Yeah.
And I'd probably go under as well.
So Marlins 5th. I actually really like what the Nationals are doing on the offensive side of the ball. I think they're going to be a pesky, annoying team, but I don't think they have the pitching to even come close to the big 3 in the East. So Nationals 4th. I'm going to go with the Mets 3rd. Their pitching is really thin to start the year. I do think they're going to get healthier as the year goes on. And David Stearns, who now runs the Mets, has always found a way to get pitching. But I think the Phillies and the Braves just have a little more depth, a little fewer questions, although the Mets do have a really good top of that roster. I'm going to take the Phillies 2nd. It's a big surprise, but I think the Phillies are almost a little underrated somehow. A team that had the most wins at the All-Star break last year and just kind of cruised to the top of the East, even if the Braves had all their issues and the Mets were late bloomers. And then I'm going to take the Braves to win the division. I will say 98 wins for the Braves. I'll say they win the division by a couple over Philadelphia. I'll say the Phillies end at like 94, 95. And then the Mets do make the playoffs, but they're going to be like 90 wins, 91 wins. It's going to be a heck of a division race, but I do think the Braves, after everything went wrong last year, everything, Brad, the fact that they still won 89 games with all of the depletions from that roster, I think they bounce back. I don't know if they necessarily get to 100 just because of how good the division is going to be and how good the top end of the NL is going to be. But give me 98 wins, a division title, and hopefully a deep run in October.
We're pretty close. I do have one flip. I am going to go Mets 2nd and Phillies 3rd, but not by a ton. Like
Yeah.
those, by the way, those teams in the betting market, which is not gospel, but it tends to be pretty sharp. They have these same over under everywhere. The Mets and Phillies, they are projected to tie in the betting market. So that's how close they are. It's a slight difference. I tend to trust the Mets lineup a little bit more than the Phillies lineup. Philadelphia has better pitching than the Mets right now. In particular, they're big two. In particular, their big one. Zach Wheeler is a long-term favorite of this podcast, despite the fact that he pitches for the Phillies. He's really good. But I'll slightly lean Mets, and I think part of it is what you said at the end of that answer. They might go out and get some more guys. Like David Stearns is not shy. Steve Cohen's got more money than anyone possibly could have. They're going to add if they need to add, I think, for the Mets. But I still have the Braves first. Yeah. And I will go do I want to go above you or below you? I will go with 97 wins for the Braves, just to let Scott look like the optimist on the podcast. But just to say this, I'm sure somebody will say we're too low. The betting market right now is about 92.5, 93.5 on the Braves. So we're both over it by a few wins. Yeah. I believe the Braves will have the second best record in the National League. The Dodgers are going to probably win 105 or something because they're preposterous. But I think Dodgers 1, Braves 2, and not even by a little bit. I think the Braves are solidly the second best team in the National League. And honestly, by proxy, the second best team in the major leagues. And I hope that they're better than the Dodgers. I just can't objectively look at the rosters and say they're better than the Dodgers on paper, because they're not. The Dodgers are the best team that I think I've ever seen, to be honest, on paper. But as you know, Scott, baseball is not played on paper.
That's right. So. Yes. When the NLCS is the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Chicago Cubs in 7 months from now, we can laugh and say this is a dumb sport. Because, of course, like October, it's weird. It's both the beauty and the curse of baseball. And I mean, we can say with a straight face that 2021 Braves team was not the most talented, not
the worst team of this run. I will stand on that until I die. That's the worst team they had in like 5 years, and they won the World Series.
Yeah, the Braves last year finished with one more win than the World Series team, I believe. And I mean, it's just, again, man, you have to cherish those deep runs when you get them. You can have great teams. It's kind of like the March Madness in the NCAA tournament. You can have an awesome basketball team for 4 months, and then you have one bad shooting night and your season's over. Similarly, you can win 100 games and you have a bad week and your season is over. It's just about getting healthy, and God willing, the Braves will finally get a little bit of good fortune and go into October healthy and firing, because that just hasn't been the case the last couple of years.
There you go. At least according to us, the Braves will win their 7th division title in the last 8 seasons, and they will keep their playoff streak alive, which is, I believe, is it 7 in a row right now? Yeah, 7 in a row right now. This will be 8 if they were to make the playoffs this year, as they should, in my opinion. So, yeah, it should be a fun year. Obviously, that's not gospel, but we're excited about the team. We'll have, like we said earlier, we'll have at least one more episode between now and the opener, which is, again, on Thursday afternoon. So we're getting very, very close to actual baseball that counts. It's on the West Coast, but at least they're giving us an afternoon game so that people don't have to stay up until 10:30 on the opening night on Thursday. Prime time for you, though, Scott. I think you'll probably be at your office, which would be a tough scene for you. But alas, baseball's here.
Yeah, a really challenging first week on the horizon. Maybe arguably the 2 best teams in the game last year. But even if, and I did want to quickly say this and then we'll wrap, the Braves might not come out of the gate super duper well.
Yeah.
I hope they do. But 4 at San Diego, 3 at LA. Hopefully they come home and beat the bejesus out of the Marlins.
Yeah. And then
the Phillies. And the Phillies have pitching to go up with anyone. And then another pretty tough road game after that. Really, the entire month of April is pretty hard for the Braves before it finally cools down. I think May's schedule is much lighter. So just to say it into the universe, if the Braves are not 10 games ahead in the division at the end of April, please, we will not panic on the show. I hope listeners go in knowing that without Strider, without Acuna, even without Murphy for a little while, tough schedule, not at 100%. And just, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And hopefully the Braves can just kind of keep their heads above water early and then really hit the gas pedal once they get up to everybody back on the roster.
We are aligned there for sure. Difficult schedule out of the gate, but we'll be here to cover it all for you. Programming notes one more time here. Yeah, this show Sunday, we'll have a show at some point between now and opening day. We'll have a post-game show after the game on opening day. And then we'll be back into our kind of regular schedule to some degree. At least 3-4 episodes per week, occasionally more than that. Just rocking and rolling, usually Sunday nights with me and Scott. It's our traditional time slot for years and years now. But we'll be here. The best thing you could possibly do, though, to get the podcast is to subscribe to the show. Anywhere you listen to your podcasts, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, Overcast, all those places. We're also on YouTube if you want to watch us. If you are a YouTube watcher primarily, thank you for being here. Please also do us a favor and subscribe and download an audio to help the show. And vice versa. If you're an audio listener, smash the subscribe button on YouTube. That will help us, likes, comments, etc., ratings, reviews. Follow us on social media as well at Hammer Territory across the board: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Scott, anything to add? And if not, where can folks who are just finding us now as the season is getting closer find all of your musings about baseball and other things?
I'm at Scott Coleman 55. Thank you to everybody. A sincere thank you to everyone who continued to tune in during the off season. And yeah, man, it's the real thing. We are right around the corner from real baseball. Very, very excited. God willing, this is going to be such a more fun season ahead than everything we went through last year. And it'll be ready to go, Brad. It'll be great to be in San Diego and have some really good baseball just a couple of days away.
Absolutely. We are fired up. You can follow Scott on Twitter / everything else at Scott Coleman 55. Follow me there at BT Rowland. Again, follow the show at Hammer Territory. Also follow our colleagues, Sean and Steven, on social media. We're all here, man. We're all excited about baseball. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be here all year long. We appreciate you listening, and we'll see you all next time.